Pet Life Radio.
This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
And welcome, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are in this great Super Bowl Sunday. I am pretty happy as a Rams fan growing up in Los Angeles, even kind of sticking with them when they left LA and now they're back. Jared Goff being a Cal alum, as am I. So I'm hoping, I hope everybody's hoping enough already with these Patriots. Darn, they're unbelievable. So maybe it'd be nice to get, maybe we can do to them what Philadelphia did to them last year. So hope you, whichever team you want to win, I hope wins. But I'm looking for the Rams. So anyway, here live with Dr. Jeff, here for the next 30 minutes. Pet Life Radio's Ask the Vets with Dr. Jeff. We want to hear from you. Very easily done. 877-385-8882. Once again, 877-385-8882. You can also, better yet, reach us right here on Google Hangouts. The link is left for you on my Ask the Vets with Dr. Jeff page here on Pet Life Radio. You click on the link and you can join us live here right in front of your camera on your computer, your laptop, your phone, whatever it is. And we can talk pets. We can ask anything you want. And as I told you, and it's happening, telemedicine is really around the corner the way we like it, working with you, working for your veterinarian. So stay tuned for that. Anyway, I just got back. This is a crazy time of year for me because in January was the VMX, formerly NAVC, the North American Veterinary Conference, now the Veterinary Medicine Expo. And it is just a great, great show. Then I was literally home for 4 days, left for Colorado for the Colorado Veterinary Medical Association in conjunction with the American Animal Hospital Association. And they call it Ski CE. For me, it was board riding CE. I'm a snowboarder, but it was fantastic. We have sessions in the morning, sessions in the evening, and the middle of the day from 9 to 4, you're on the slopes. And the conditions were absolutely gorgeous in Vail, Colorado. And already looking forward, I think I booked already for next year. It's a great conference. It was Dr. Dave Bruyette, formerly from the West Los Angeles Veterinary Medical Group from the VCA. He's now got his own company. It was all about endocrinology. It was fantastic. Great, what we call CE, continuing education. So looking forward to that. Anyway, in 2 weeks, it's off to Las Vegas for the Western Veterinary Conference, the only conference that in size and attendance rivals VMX. And they're both huge. And their exhibit halls are tremendous. And the one was in the Orlando Convention Center. This one's in Las Vegas Convention Center. Well, it's actually at the Mandalay Bay, but it's actually tremendous. And then I'm home for 4 weeks after that. And I have back to Orlando, where I will be with Mark Winter over in Orlando for the Global Pet Expo GPE. That is the largest pet trade show on the planet. And that's every March in Orlando. Looking forward to that one as well. So anyway, just a couple things. I like this. What we're going to talk about today, just so you stay tuned, because this is important stuff. When I was in Vail, we're looking at temperatures. It was like 2 below zero. But you're hearing reports, and it was gorgeous, though. Here you're hearing reports with wind chill in Chicago, minus 50 and minus 40 something in Minneapolis. And it is really dangerous for us. You've heard about, I'm sure, about the deaths. I think it was 11 already, maybe more. It's a serious business, and it's serious business for our pets as well. So we really need to be careful. We're going to talk about how to keep our pets warm during these crazy, crazy winters where the temperatures are just so low. It's frightening. I heard that in Chicago, for example, they couldn't de-ice the planes because the de-icing equipment was frozen. And if the de-icing equipment was okay, it was the employees. They couldn't go outside to stand there for more than a few minutes at a time because it was that cold. That's very dangerous. Anyway, to go over some of the AVMA and American Animal Hospital Association news briefs, which I love to do. And if any of these hit a nerve with you, I want to hear about it. Once again, 877-385-8882. And the one more thing, sadly, I know that whichever you follow me on my Instagram or my Facebook, you've probably heard that we finally had to say goodbye to Herbie. Herbie was my 14-year-old, just shy of 14, like 3 weeks from turning 14, French Bulldog, who I had the pleasure of delivering by C-section those almost 14 years ago. He was just the most amazing little guy. And Frenchies, for little dogs, they usually live longer. Frenchies, for some reason, don't. So Frenchies, you're talking about a 14-year-old Frenchie, that's pretty darn good. So anyway, as I mentioned, since I delivered him C-section, mine were the first human hands, the first hands to touch him, but sadly, also the last. May he rest in peace. he was a good guy. Where we now just, as of this weekend, we did this 2 weeks ago. We're fostering a dog. One of my clients was looking for a home for this magnificent yellow lab. And we already have a yellow lab. We have a Labradoodle. We have another Frenchie. So we like dogs. And to go with our 6 cats, he is here at the house. She brought him over on Friday. He's been with us now for a few days, 2 days. I'm amazed because my dogs don't take very kindly to strange dogs. They were so to their own pack. When Grover was alive, we had 5 dogs. We had the 2 labs, the Labradoodle, the 2 Frenchies, and that was their pack. So they wouldn't let anybody else in. And even it was so embarrassing to walk them because they'd see another dog, they'd wanted to like run across the street and kill them. So now with 2 gone, now we're adding another one. And I'm amazed how well they're taking to him. The one that my yellow lab, Tommy, is pretty protective. He's got that air about him that, nobody's good enough to be with him. And they are actually getting along pretty darn well. So I don't know, who knows? Maybe we'll keep them. But right now we're fostering them, checking it out. But so far, so good. Anyway, speaking of big dogs and little dogs, this is one's a cute one from the AVMA, that a dog's brain size. Now, mind you, the bigger the dog, the bigger the brain, clearly. So, but the brain size, it sort of has a direct relation to what they call executive function and short-term memory. So basically they're saying is, and also self-control. So what happens is that usually, though you wouldn't know self-control with my dogs, but the big dogs usually are a little bit more tolerant in weird situations. But having said that, the larger the dog, larger the brain. But what it doesn't say, so those are the 2 functions affected by brain size, but it had no correlation, no effect on social intelligence or physical reasoning ability. So, the dogs can think the same, but when it comes to, as I said, executive brain function, now I have to look that one up. That I think what they're trying to say is which is one of the reasons why, besides physical stature, that they are able to learn things that allow them to do what they do for work. And so the big dogs, that's why you see a lot of big dogs are the extremely well-trained dogs. Now, and they have also better short-term memory. So anyway, that was very interesting. Again, with the weather that we're having and so many more people leaving their pets inside places like doggy daycares, boarding facilities, etc., it's very important to talk to your veterinarian about the influenza virus vaccine. We are seeing more and more cases of it. It is something to reckon with. It's the H3N2 and the H3N8. You can get the vaccines now, what we call bivalent. They will hit both strains. And I think that's very, very important to think about is talk to your vet about the influenza vaccine. Now, this is, I'd like you hear your take on this one. So 877-385-8882. South Carolina is proposing a bill that in essence would require intact pit bull type dogs to be microchipped and register for a $500 fee. I like that. And with a maximum penalty of $1,000 and 1 year imprisonment, not for the dog, but for the owner, if they don't comply. So what they're trying to do is obviously cut down on the fighting, cut down on these poorly trained dogs. So basically they're saying, if you have a pit bull type breed and you elect not to neuter, then that's okay. But it's going to cost you a heck of a huge license fee, and they have to be microchipped. So they have to be identifiable that way. So I think it's a pretty good deal. I'm completely against banning breeds, but I think that there needs to be some owner responsibility on these dogs that notoriously have caused problems for people and other dogs as well. And again, I know it firsthand, from my practice. One of my daughter's dogs, she has 2 pits. They are tenacious. They can be very, very, very difficult. So anyway, hats off to South Carolina. Now, also, speaking of different ways that we're trying to adapt for people and their pets, is we're seeing a rise in house call veterinarians. This is kind of going back. I don't know if any of you remember Dr. Marcus Welby, MD, but this is the old country doc who's now making house calls in homes in the cities. There's some companies popping up providing veterinarians, and it's perfect for like especially for cats who, trust me, I know, don't love going to the veterinarian. Multi-pet households, animals that have had really severe traumatic experiences at vet hospitals. So that's important. And also owners who have mobility issues. Someone's confined to a chair, elderly people. So there's something nice about it. Now, certainly there are some limited functions that could be performed. But now I've seen these really cool vans that actually have x-ray equipment. The veterinarian travels with a technician, and they can do a lot of things. So something to keep in mind if that's something that might fit your lifestyle better. Of course, the availability is not as better. You're going to have to make appointments way in advance. And just keep in mind, it's going to be more expensive. And for many of you, expense is already a problem. So that's something that just to keep in mind. Now, I'm not surprised, but another raw food recall. Gee, how crazy is that? So this one is in Minnesota. It's raw turkey pet food sold at 3 Woody's Pet Food Deli, recalled because of salmonella. I tell people when we get on the subject of raw diets, and clients of mine want to switch to a raw food diet, and I tell them, I have my radio show, Pet Life Radio, Ask the Vets with Dr. Jeff on Sundays. I don't think a week, maybe 1 week, certainly not 2 weeks go by that when I follow the veterinary news, I do not hear of a recall because of raw diets. So I can only tell you, research it well. One thing I can only tell you, and again, do whatever homework you want. That's fine. It's better, more appreciated to educate yourselves. But understand one thing. The digestive tract, the flora, the bacteria in today's domesticated dog is not what it was thousands of years ago in their wolf ancestors. So therefore, to say when I hear it all the time, oh no, but in the wild they eat all these, or they tear these animals apart. Yeah, they do. And we also don't know if they get sick and die because they're in the wild. But we do know that our current domesticated dogs cannot tolerate these as well. Can some? Of course there can be some. Fluke, mutation, whatever the case may be. But don't think my advice is what it always has been. If you're feeding something now and your dogs like it, it's convenient for you to buy. They are thriving. They have good poops. They have energy. They have a shiny coat. Don't switch because somebody else tells you something is better. When it comes to foods, there's really no such thing as better. So don't even think about it. I'm going to ignore that phone call. Now, next is, so this is very interesting, actually. Scientists are doing something kind of cool. They are vaccinating mice against Lyme disease, against Borrelia burgdorferi. Now, you'd say, whoa, wait a second. Why mice? Well, apparently the white-footed mouse is a sort of a vector and a reservoir, we say, not the vector, it's the reservoir for Lyme. So what happens is they are carrying the Lyme bacterium, and then the tick jumps on the mouse and ingests in their blood. They pick up the Lyme bacterium, and then when they bite their host, whether it's another person, whether it's a dog, then they inject that bacterium into the client, into the host. So what's happening is we are seeing the propagation, if you will, and especially in the Northeast, this is Connecticut, taking place in Connecticut. So they are seeing, so now these ticks are still doing their biting, but they're not carrying the Lyme disease bacterium, the Borrelia. So I think it's pretty cool. So what they're doing is they're doing it orally and they're putting it into traps. So when the mouse eats the food in the trap, they are actually getting the vaccine. And they're not doing it to kill the mouse. They're actually purposely doing it there to sort of minimize, because they apparently are a major reservoir of the bacterium. That's pretty cool. On a nice note, the National Zoo, the Smithsonian, opened its doors once again after the almost month-long government partial shutdown. So that's pretty cool. Speaking of diet, let's talk about one more. That veterinary cardiologists at Washington State University School of Veterinary Medicine, I'm sure you've heard about now that all these people are into the grain-free diets and the boutique foods and the raw diets, etc. We are seeing more cases in dogs, which we usually don't see, of dilated cardiomyopathy. The thought is, what is going on? Well, apparently, with those foods, there's an imbalance of some of the essential amino acids like methionine and cysteine that the dogs can convert to taurine. And taurine is essential for preventing cardiomyopathy. That's why it's put in cat diets, as cats can't do it, but dogs can make their own if they have the right essential amino acids. So the question is, what is going on? We know there is probably a link. They're not sure exactly what it is. And so that's what they're studying. Is there something else in these grains? Is it a substitute that doesn't have the amino acids necessary to help make the taurine? The jury is open. Is there another agent in these the legumes or whatever they're using? Yes, they have protein, but it may not have enough of the cysteine and methionine to help them, or it's a different form of cysteine and methionine. There are just too many unknowns, but they do know there may be a link. So just be careful out there. Talk to your veterinarian and just think twice. They're actually asking that blood work and things done, the food that they are being fed. If you have a dog that ends up with DCM, dilated cardiomyopathy, and you have changed to one of these diets, Washington State is asking your veterinarian, talk to your veterinarian. They want the blood work, they want the food, and they want to try to find out what the direct link is. But I think that's very, very fascinating. And lastly, before we get to our break, and then we're going to talk about cold weather, animal control. There's a new bill. There's an animal cruelty bill. It's been, this is nationally, by the way, and it was just reintroduced. And you say, wait a second, reintroduced. So people who torture animals could be sentenced to 7 years in prison under proposed new legislation. What are some, check this out. This blows my mind. Here are the things that have been reported over the years to basically prompt lawmakers to put this bill into effect. Crushing, burning, drowning, suffocating, impaling, sexually exploiting, right, these animals. And these are now would be felony offenses, of course. And so listen to this. Unbelievably, this is the Senate has already passed this bill twice, but it was overturned. Listen to this. The former House Judiciary Committee chairman blocked the bill from consideration. Not once, but twice. So I think what we should do is find out who this idiot is, and we should maybe do some of these things on him and see what it's like. I'm amazed. I'm going to go through this list again because I read it and I was in shock. Crushing, burning, drowning, suffocating, impaling, all right, and sexually exploiting. This is what's going on. These are people, and this is what they do to our animals. So it is shocking. Anyway, with that terrible news, I'm going to leave you for a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about some very, very important cold weather tips because what's happening in the country now is unbelievable as far as weather. We'll be right back.
Sit, stay. We'll be right back after a short pause. Well, 4 to be exact.
Does your dog itch, scratch, stink, or shed like crazy? Come to Dynavite for help.
Order a 90-day supply of Dynavite.
Dynavite is nutrition.
Pick up 2 bottles of Lico Chops. Get the 3rd bottle free.
New improved Lico Chops with omega-3, omega-6, vitamin E.
And now, 6 extra direct-fed microbials.
Even better for the digestive tract and immune system.
Try Lico Chops. Buy 2, get 1 free.
At Dynavite.com.
DINOVITE.com.
Let's talk pets
Let's talk pets
on Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
And welcome back. You're here live with Dr. Jeff Wolfberg here on Pet Life Radio's Ask the Vets with Dr. Jeff. And it's cold out there. Boy, the Midwest and the East are just suffering some extreme temperatures. I mean, thinking, you've heard it, Minnesota, Chicago, Kansas. I mean, it's unbelievable what's going on out there. And we need to be really sure that our pets are staying warm. And they're, the basics. The basics are, if you are going to keep a pet outside, and I've already heard many stories of what's going on, that there needs to be fresh water, not fresh ice, fresh water. So there are certain bowls out there. You can have them in sheltered areas there where the water won't freeze. There are bowls that you can get that, will not heat the water, but keep it at a temperature greater than 35 degrees. And that way it'll be cold, but it won't freeze over. Shelter. As we learned from Chicago in last week, that temperature is one thing, wind chill is another. And with wind chill, it can take a temperature of cold, minus 20, but make it minus 50. So that is of critical importance. So dogs that are going to be outside need shelter. Don't kid yourself and say, well, God, I have a Husky, I have a Samoyed, I have a Malamute. They have the thick coat. They're meant for, no, they're not. That's if they're working. Yes, if they're pulling sleds, yeah. If they're up in Alaska and they're in Antarctica, yes, they can go ahead and work and they'll keep their body. But just sitting around, that's very dangerous for them. So don't kid yourself and think that it's okay if you have a dog like that. So much so that if you have dogs with short coats, even big dogs in this kind of weather, you need to take precautions. First of all, get that sweater on them, get that coat on them. So what? They look a little funny. So what? Someone's going to laugh. Who cares? You're keeping your pets warm. Also, the feet. It's very important to keep an eye on the feet. Why? Because a lot of most municipalities in those conditions are going to be putting chemicals, salt, something down on the snow, on the sidewalks, on the streets that will help as a de-icing technique. Well, the problem is those are very irritating. So if you're going to take your dogs out, Not to mention the fact that the pads can absorb a lot of that cold. They can get frostbite just like we can. So you want to get some kind of booties, some sort of foot protection, protection from the chemicals, the harsh chemicals, the elements, but also protection from the cold. So that's a must. So if you're living in a climate that where it's that cold, don't even hesitate. Don't even think twice. Now, what about leaving your pets outside at night? So we talked about also, it takes, one thing is, yes, animals are probably not exercising the same, and they're not going to burn as many calories during the day from exercising, but it takes a lot of energy to have these pets maintain their own body temperatures. So that's what shivering does. Shivering sort of helps a dog or even a person elevate body temperature. So don't think that you have to reduce caloric load if you live in these kind. Now, if you live in California and you're not exercising much, because right now it's been pouring rain. We've had like 4 consecutive days, more rain. I mean, and just, in Los Angeles, when it rains, that's like you guys having tornadoes or hurricanes. People are afraid to get in their cars. If it's a light drizzle, they're going to stay in the house. It's very funny. But bottom line is that we also out there, and even though yesterday it was pouring here. But yes, if you're not going to exercise your dog as much, you want to cut down calories. But if it's super cold and they're going to be having to brave those elements, make sure they're well fed. But at night, do not leave them outside, because what happens is once a dog sleeps, if they do sleep, they lose that ability to help regulate their body temperature. And I'm sure you've heard that story in Iowa of that college kid that was found dead, frozen to death outside of his dorm. How he got there, why he got there, who knows? Maybe he was plastered and he passed out. But next thing you know, if you're not awake to fight the elements by yourself, it's going to get to the best of you. So these are reasons why it is very, very important. So it's shelter, sweaters, jackets. It is some sort of protection from the wind. If there's a windy area, plenty of fresh water, warm clothes, protect the feet, and good food. Make sure they're well fed. And these are things that are very important. But don't think, I put my dogs outside when it's cold. I'm with them. Yeah, can they take their walks? Yeah, they do fine. But when it gets super, super cold, when it's hitting below freezing, you need to take extra precautions. And especially if you have small dogs and short-carded dogs, literally anything that's going to freeze water to ice, 32 degrees, it's going to do it to them as well. And for those of you who don't remember, 0 degrees Celsius is the same. So anyway, hope you have a great, dry, warm week, whatever the case may be, depending on where you are. We will be here next week. If there's any subjects that really intrigue you that you'd like to talk about, send me a note to Dr. Jeff at PetLifeRadio.com. You can send me a note on my Instagram. That's at Dr. Jeff Werber. By the way, go follow me on Instagram, because you're going to, if nothing else, learn some things. I do these little videos, but the cutest pictures you can ever imagine. I have so much fun at work every day. And as I joke, I get more tongue than anybody I know, which you'll see from these pictures. So anyway, that's it for now. Once again, we'll see you next week. And just have a wonderful week and stay dry and stay warm. Bye-bye.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.